We wish we were able to join together in person. We know that this event, we had to take some extra precautions for because we truly couldn't operate our agency without each and every one of you. And so we wanted to make sure that we were being as safe as possible. But during today's event, you'll hear from JFS staff about the impact that each of you have made over the last year, and you'll get to hear about the contributions of this year's award recipients. And then after that, we're really looking forward to having some fun playing trivia together. So we'll do that. And then just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. The first is that everyone's going to be muted until we've finished presenting all of the awards, but we still want you to join us in congratulating all of our award recipients. And so you can do this in two different ways. The first is that you can type a congratulatory message into the chat, or you can click that reaction button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and pick an emoji to use while their award is being presented. Next housekeeping thing is that for the majority of the event, we will be sharing slides with you. So when that happens, you can change your view to side-by-side speaker with that view button up at the top so that you can see both the slide and the person talking. And lastly, we are, as you know, because you got a message probably that popped up on your screen, going to be recording the event. The trivia portion, we will stop recording, but we want to be able to share the video on our agency's social media and on our YouTube channel so that those who didn't have the opportunity to join us today can still watch. So just a couple of things. And then to get us started, I would like to welcome up our CEO, Kathy Barker.
Hi, everybody. I am Kathy Barker. I'm the CEO of Jewish Family Service, and I'm excited to get to celebrate with everyone today. It's nice to see so many of you. Unfortunately, we don't get to be together in the same way as we usually are, but it's still a celebration and it's still an opportunity for us to get together and say thank you for all that you have done to really move this agency forward over this past year. Want you to hear how grateful we are for you, not just today, but every single day. I may sound a little bit like a broken record in that I wanted to tell you that the agency is continuing to grow year over year. You may recall that a few years back, we talked about the number of people that we serve being right around 14,000 individuals. And I will tell you that because of the efforts of our volunteers being able to help us in new and different ways. In 2020, you heard us last year talk about how we served 23,000 unique individuals. Well, now I'm here to tell you that in fiscal year 21, we served 39,000 individuals, and we absolutely couldn't have done it without everything that y'all did in so many different ways. A large portion of the increases in those services were directly related to our drive-up food distribution model. These are these boots on the ground type activities, and that you guys were our frontline workers helping us to achieve that. Also through the emergency housing and utility assistance program that we performed in partnership with the city of Dallas, Dallas County, and Collin County to help families impacted by COVID with that unique financial assistance. But most of all, what has been helpful is through word of mouth, you have been able to help others to connect with the services, volunteer for us where needed, and then also ensure that all of our services are getting out to the community and where needed most. And as a result of all our targeted efforts and also an additional effort to engage more of the corporate community, I'm very pleased to say that we have record numbers of volunteers, a total of 804, who signed up and filled a total of 6,015 shifts during this past year alone. And that is a savings to the agency of over $400,000. Those are dollars that we otherwise would have had to spend to hire staff to do similar work. So thank you for that. Couldn't have done it without you. It's a relief to know that JFS never has to worry about any of our services being disrupted because volunteers like you continue to offer support to keep things moving forward, whether remote or in person. So our volunteers stood beside us, whether it was through the kosher home delivered meals program, our drive up food distribution program, helping and assisting Holocaust survivors, in their own homes, and working remotely and or person wherever it is that we needed to do it. Together, we carried out the JFS mission to ensure that we could help all in need and in any way possible. So I wanted to take a moment to share a few updates with you that are newsworthy and related to our volunteer services, just to give you an idea of some of the things that we've accomplished together. First, wanted to talk about the Friendly Visitor Program. Many of y'all may not know, but we have had the Friendly Visitor Program in our older adult services for many years, but we probably only carried about 3 or 4 trained friendly visitors to help. And then with the inception of the Holocaust Survivor Services, led by our clinical psychologist, Yafa Pobilich Weinberg, and then also the Kosher Home Delivered Meals program with Liz Latson and all of their efforts, we have been able to basically reestablish this program. And we now have 19 friendly visitors that are trained and working with isolated seniors. And that's just an incredibly huge growth in a matter of a year's time. We couldn't have done it without all of them. I'm pleased to say that the agency through the pandemic hosted a vaccine clinic in partnership with Tom Thumb. I'm also pleased to share that JFS took the position that we wanted our staff to be required to take the vaccine, and that also volunteers were asked to be vaccinated. The idea behind that was to ensure that our clients, our staff, and you, if you were here at our facility, were as safe as possible during these difficult times. The agency distributed 2.2 million pounds of food to 20,976 unique individuals through our drive-up food pantry distribution, which is done in partnership with North Texas Food Bank. We completed our food pantry expansion, which now allows us to move back to our client choice model. And it's been wonderful to see many of you joining us again in that program. We distributed $5.5 million through our emergency housing and utility assistance program that I had mentioned, and it helped 3,300 individuals. We continue to provide our mental health and family violence intervention services, initially remotely at the beginning of the year, but we have successfully been able to transition to seeing some clients in person, particularly when it comes to diagnostic testing and play therapy services. And we have made an effort to expand our children's services at our remote locations in South Dallas at Jubilee Park, and also Roseland Communities, our clinic there. And we have a new partnership with PD Place Medical Clinic in Louisville. We have brought back our medical transportation services for seniors and the disabled, just most recently, as of a few months ago, in partnership with Jewish Federations of North America and Toyota. We have a brand new handicap accessible van so that we can schedule those appointments and help isolated seniors. And I'm very excited to say that the board has approved us to move forward with the capital campaign. As much as we know and love this old Montgomery Ward auto repair facility that we live in here, it's sort of strangely, the way you have to navigate this place. And so we will be on this property building a new 3 or 4 story complex that will also help us to improve access and do our jobs more effectively and efficiently. And then last, as far as updates, I would be remiss if I didn't say that with everything that is happening with the attack on Ukraine right now, please know that just as we were in 1950, helping refugees from the Jewish community who came to the Dallas area, and just as we did in the 80s with the refugees from Russia, we stand ready and poised to help with the humanitarian effort to help any of the families that come to us from the Ukraine or that area. We don't know a lot of how we will be called to help just yet, but please know that as we have more information, we will share that with you. And I am certain that we will have volunteer needs as well. So stay tuned for that. So these are just a few updates. I also want to encourage you to join us at our annual meeting in June if you want to hear even more as it relates to the organization as a whole. And then I just like to say a few thank yous. I want to say a very special thank you to our board chair, Julie Lieberman, who has had to do things in ways that you could never imagine for someone taking over as a board chair during a pandemic. I don't think they write a playbook for that, but also a thank you to our entire JFS Board of Directors and the JFS Foundation for helping us to have all of the resources, staffing, anything that we needed to be able to respond in a way that was helpful to our community and stay true to our mission. And then finally, I'd like to say a special thank you to the woman leading all of our volunteer efforts, Kristen Jackson. Each of you should know that literally every decision, every recommendation or challenge that comes before Kristen and her team, she thinks of you and she thinks of our clients first and foremost, so that what we do for them in serving them is both dignified, professional, but also heartfelt. And so a big thank you to Kristen and her entire team. So whether you've logged on to help us celebrate our volunteers or you are a volunteer, we appreciate your continued involvement and loyal support to our mission. Thank you. We simply couldn't do what we do without you. Kristen?
All right, thank you, Kathy. So just about every superhero story has a few of the same key elements, and the story of our superhero volunteers that we're telling today is no different. The first element of those stories is, of course, their superpower, which is often enabled by a special item. But our volunteers' special item isn't a hammer or a cape, it's their values and their heart. Each of our volunteers has a unique quality that makes them want to give their time to making their community and the world a better place. And every single one of them does it with humility. JFS is able to be the agency we are because of the superpower of our volunteers. The smiles, warmth, and compassion that meet each of our clients at our doors is really brought by them. The second element is a secret identity. I think that many of you family members and friends out there will know exactly where I'm going with this one. But the volunteers think that they're being secretive, but we really have all figured them out. And I hate to say, but we're going to reveal many of their secret identities today. I can guarantee that most of our volunteers would never tell you about the impact that they're making each day. They all volunteer not for the award that may come with it and not to shout from the rooftops that they're doing good in the world, but simply to make a difference in the lives of those who are struggling. So they aren't boastful, they're very modest and humble about the work that they're doing. So while they'd like to keep their identities a secret, I personally love having the chance to shout their names from the rooftop and let everyone know that they're changing lives and saving the world. The third piece of these stories is a supervillain adversary, and I think we all know that this year's supervillain is COVID. Our volunteers have found ways to continuously overcome the obstacles that this villain has put in their paths. But there are more. Our volunteer heroes have been overcoming obstacles against the world's supervillains for years. They've each risen to the occasion to help fight poverty, homelessness, food insecurity, joblessness, abuse, amongst a myriad of other problems that we face. And like the villains we see in comics, television shows, and movies, these are not easy things to steadily and regularly fight against. But our volunteers show up each day, week, month, and year to continue the battle. And lastly, each story features an iconic sidekick. So our volunteers don't just have one sidekick, though. They've got a whole community of people fighting alongside them. We have really become each other's sidekicks, lifting each other up and encouraging each other when things get hard. And trust me, they'll tell you that things do get hard. Each of you has helped us to overcome some seemingly impossible tasks this last year, and I know will continue to for years to come. So thank you to each of you for joining us as we tell this story today, and thank you to each of you who are our volunteer superheroes for sharing your unwavering strength, courage, and dedication with JFS. You'll hear it many times today, but we are truly so lucky to have your superpowers on our side. So thank you. And with that, I will pass our metaphorical mic to Liz Latson to present our first award.
One look at Dr. Eddie Friedman's resume and your jaw will drop. She is a force of nature with an incredible history. It's not a hyperbole that her own husband's autobiography is titled, "Call Me Mr. Lucky." Eddie came to Jewish Family Service in the 1980s as a volunteer to help with the resettlement of refugees. She has remained engaged as a volunteer since then, and the agency is all the richer for her contributions. As one of the first remote-friendly visitor volunteers that began in late 2020, Eddie continues regular phone and mail visits with her friend, alleviating isolation that so many older adults have in this community. In this past year, she has been a triple threat. A native of Venezuela, Eddie translates craft kit instructions to Spanish to be given to kids that come to the food pantry with their parents, many of whom are non-native speakers. You can also spot Eddie each week making deliveries for kosher home delivered meals. She is very careful to make sure that the clients are safe and have had a welfare check in addition to each meal. Volunteering during a pandemic is a challenge, but doing it with 3 different roles and balancing a day-to-day life, trying new recipes for her lucky spouse, plus the wonderful life of remaining engaged with children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, keep the staff, clients, and fellow volunteers in awe of Eddie's unstoppable fortitude. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Eddie Friedman as the co-recipient of this year's Outstanding Volunteer Award. And next up is Kristen.
Congratulations, Eddie, and thank you so much for all that you do. You'll notice that Liz mentioned that Eddie was the co-recipient of the Outstanding Volunteer Award. And that's because it was impossible to choose just one person. Our second outstanding volunteer of 2021 is Ed Sands. When Ed started as a volunteer with JFS in 2019, he dove in headfirst, quickly taking on 1, 2, 3, sometimes even 4 volunteer shifts each week. We've relied on him since day one to help with restocking the pantry, Monday muscle deliveries, mobile pantries with North Texas Food Bank, and more. Before the pandemic, Ed's daughter and grandson would even join him on Tuesdays to help restock the shelves after our food distribution. And it was clear that he was spreading his value of service to his family. All of this to say that Ed volunteers with unprecedented dedication and passion. During the drive-through food distributions over the last year, he became a pivotal member of the team, working consistently each week to ensure that other volunteers were informed and worked together in unison. He acted almost as a graceful composer to everyone around him, welcoming new volunteers and helping them to feel comfortable and confident in their roles, and being a friend and rock to returning volunteers. And he does it all very humbly. Being around Ed makes everyone want to mirror his humility, kindness, and passion. He's made impacts on fellow volunteers, staff members, and clients that I don't think he realizes or will ever fully admit. We couldn't be more grateful for his leadership throughout this last year and these last couple of years during his volunteer time. So thank you, Ed, for leaving your mark on each of us. And JFS is so lucky to have you as a member of our volunteer family. Please join me in congratulating Ed Sands, our co-recipient of the Outstanding Volunteer Award. And next up, Julie Lieberman, the chair of our board of directors, will present our board leadership award.
Thank you, Kristen. And congratulations to both Eddie and Ed on being named this year's Outstanding Volunteers. Before I present this year's leadership award, I want to take a moment to thank each one of our volunteers on behalf of the board of directors. It is because of the passion and dedication that you selflessly give that we continue to be an open door to anyone in need, even when we see the tremendous growth in the number of people in need that we did this last year. Each year, JFS selects one member from the board of directors to be the recipient of the JFS Leadership Award. It is intended to acknowledge a board member whose energy and enthusiasm about JFS goes beyond what is expected and embodies the value and image the agency wants to project to the community. This year, we could not think of anyone who encompasses those qualities quite like Rebecca Buell. I refer to Rebecca as a boomerang, someone who goes out but comes back. Our board members served two-year terms, so we were all very sad when Rebecca's term came to an end. However, imagine our collective excitement when, after taking a few years off to have two beautiful children, she returned as a member of our board last year. Rebecca commits her talent and expertise to JFS, and this past year served as the chair of the audit committee and an engaged and active member of the governance committee, contributing to the process of updating our bylaws and developing committee charters. She also led a team of our CFO and board members in interviewing and selecting an audit firm that ultimately supported the agency through a successful audit process. Congratulations, Rebecca, on being named this year's Leadership Award recipient. And thank you for all the hard work you've dedicated to JFS over the years. You are truly deserving of this honor.
The Future of JFS Award is aimed at recognizing a young adult whose dedication, commitment, and passion for the mission of JFS helps to move our agency forward. Their evolving leadership shows great promise for what JFS will look like in the future. This year, the Future of JFS Award is presented to Yael Kaczynski. Yael's passion for the agency is obvious in every young leadership board meeting and every conversation that she has. Over the past few years, she has been an active member of the Young Leadership Board and has made many valuable contributions. Most notably, she has spearheaded the board's involvement in the Embrace a Family program. That's the agency's holiday gift program for clients in need. She has sorted gift donations, shopped for families, and handed out gifts to clients. She is always quick to step up when additional support is needed and is ready with a fresh idea or a new take on a topic. We are so glad to have her as part of the JFS family and can't wait to see where she goes next.
I am excited to present the Newcomer of the Year Award to Janice Rosenfeld-Barbash. With that, I want to explain kind of how it is to have Janice on the floor back in the food pantry with me. Usually the first words out of Janice's mouth when she arrives are, "What can I do?" With some simple directions on to where to start, she immediately focuses on the task at hand. She is thorough and precise in her work, with the ability to quickly pivot to take on any food pantry project with ease. Janice always makes sure to restock our kosher corner and thoughtfully offers to do even more work as she's ending her shift. Like, get out of here. With that, we are very fortunate to have her strength and focus to support us and our clients here at JFS. Thank you for your service, Janice.
Our first recipient of the Hearts and Hands Award is Judy Bazarski. The ongoing pandemic has brought many challenges to volunteer work, and Judy Bazarski has met each one of those challenges with aplomb. Judy and her spouse Howard have walked the halls at JFS for years as dedicated kosher home delivered meals drivers. But more recently, Judy has had a unique volunteer assignment, remote friendly visitor to a client of the agency. When an older adult is locked in a world with only caregivers and a few out-of-town relatives to communicate, that situation can be very lonely. Judy alleviated that isolation with her friend, who has physical barriers to communicating directly with people. While most volunteers would find this assignment impossible, Judy pivoted and found different ways to create meaningful remote visits. As a speech pathologist, Judy developed strategies and remained dedicated and compassionate to connect with her friend. The clinician for the client saw great improvement as a result of Judy's passion and continued consistent communication. As a seasoned remote-friendly visitor, Judy also provides encouragement to new trainees by mentoring them at the monthly check-ins, helping them understand that creating a friendship over Skype or phone with a withdrawn older adult is not an easy task, but the effort is worth the rewards. Jewish Family Service is so very lucky to have Judy Bazarski give her time to clients. Please join me in congratulating her as a recipient of the Hearts and Hands Awards.
Our next Hearts and Hands Award is for Debbie Dubsky. So Debbie is a determined volunteer that has seen a wide variety of services that JFS can offer. 30 years ago, Debbie came to JFS when the agency was assisting as part of the Russian resettlement program for clients that were new to the Dallas area. Debbie joined JFS as an ESL teacher for those clients, and that role turned into an ESL career. Once she retired as a teacher, she returned to the food pantry as a highly engaged and regular shopper. But after March of 2020, Debbie was recruited by JFS staff to become a remote-friendly visitor, the program that you just heard about from Liz. And she was matched with a Russian-speaking client. We couldn't have imagined a better pairing for this client who wanted someone to practice her English skills with. Using her creativity and passion for teaching ESL, Debbie utilized their video call visits to work on the client's language skills by reading poetry together. And relieve that isolation that we've all felt over the last 2 years. Debbie also continues to volunteer in the newly remodeled Client Choice Food Pantry as a shopper. In this role, she promotes dignity for each interaction to make certain that the clients can select the food they need. She shows care and consideration in all the ways she assists JFS clients who are experiencing food insecurity. You can see how much affinity she has for the mission of the agency, and we're lucky to have her contribute in so many ways. Please join me in celebrating Debbie Dubsky, recipient of the Hearts and Hands Award.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Scolacci. I'm the volunteer coordinator here at JFS, and I'm honored to be able to present the next Hearts and Hands Award to Noah Fish. Noah Fish has volunteered to make craft kits for kids every week since the beginning of September. Despite the rigorous academic demands of his first semester, his freshman year at UTD, he has chosen to spend his limited free time shopping for materials and putting these kits together. He has been on top of his game since the day he started and found a way to go above and beyond to make these kits happen, while also being a full-time student. If I did my math correctly, Noah has made 497 craft kits for the kids that attend our food pantry on his own. That doesn't include the ones he already gave me this week and the ones he's working on. He's too fast. That in itself shows his character, and the success of this program would not have been possible without his help. He has also dedicated his time to help out in other departments with JFS beginning in 2019. Noah has shown his kindness and dedication, even virtually, and that is why he deserves this award. Please join me in congratulating and thanking Noah for his hard work. Next up is Liz.
From the moment you meet Barbara Furman, you get a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's abundantly clear that she takes the mission to repair the world to heart. Barbara works in all aspects of JFS as a volunteer, stocking and shopping in the food pantry, driving for KHDM, but in the last year, she has been the most frequently called upon volunteer for food pantry deliveries. In the event a client has mobility impairments that prevents them from coming in person to get supplies from the food pantry, Barbara is the volunteer our team is most likely to contact to deliver directly to their doorstep. She will deliver to the client and then usually call one of our team to express her gratitude for having the opportunity. Barbara also brings her whole family to work as a team of volunteers, and those days are filled with great energy. Since Barbara models such wonderful behavior for her family, it's no surprise that her son Benji chose JFS as a place to complete his mitzvah project this past winter. Our team is so fortunate to work with Barbara. Please join me in congratulating her. And next up is Kristen.
Our next Hearts and Hands Award goes to Jill Kirshner. Jill has been an incredible, dedicated volunteer in the food pantry for many years. Some of you may not know this, but during the beginning of the drive-through distributions, JFS was ordering food and packing our own boxes to be distributed before receiving the pre-packed boxes from North Texas Food Bank that many of you know to have been distributed during those weekly food distributions. In the beginning, we were packing about 250 boxes each week, and that number, as you know, continued to grow. We had to pack in small numbers of volunteers because of the threat of the virus, and what we could initially pack one day each week grew to 3 days each week. Jill started with that one day, and her volunteer commitment grew with the number of families coming to get food. In June, she volunteered 3 days each week to make sure that we were able to pack the 500 boxes we needed. When North Texas Food Bank started pre-packing the boxes for us, our needs shifted, and so naturally, Jill shifted in her role. Instead of helping with food distributions, she took on the unique role of helping the development team to send out donation acknowledgement letters. You wouldn't believe the impact that it makes for our staff to have Jill help in this way. Since the food pantry is reopening, she has added to her role, no surprise, by helping as an intake volunteer. Her commitment to the agency and willingness to help in any way she can is truly a blessing, but it is little compared to the genuine care that she has for everyone. I love every chance that I get to see Jill because she always checks in to make sure I'm doing okay, and I know that she genuinely means it. I have no doubt that behind the walls of the interview booth in the pantry, the clients receive that same warmth. Please join me in thanking and congratulating Jill for sharing her time and her heart with JFS.
Lisa Rothstein began volunteering at JFS each week in the drive-through distribution last year. She jumped right in as an interviewer, a role many were hesitant to try. Each week, she greeted clients with a friendly smile and a warm welcome. We always knew we could rely on her, and she made such an impact there for both us as staff and our clients. Fast forward to the pantry's reopening, Lisa was one of the first people to step up in the food pantry and try out our new intake position. Although nervous at first, Lisa is now our go-to gal for anything related to our food pantry database. She has become one of our most reliable food pantry volunteers. Although my time here at JFS has been limited, I have noticed from the beginning that Lisa is a powerhouse. She always gives 110% and is amazing at anything she puts her mind to. On top of her efficiency, she also goes above and beyond to help our clients and fellow volunteers. I have watched Lisa, while being our only intake volunteer that day, sit with a client and help her fill out forms for her new job. If a new volunteer comes in, Lisa rises to the occasion and is ready to train and answer any questions that they may have. Her evident selflessness makes her a great volunteer, and I love every opportunity I get to work with her. Thank you, Lisa, for everything that you do. Our next award goes to Sieg Smalls. Sieg holds a special place in my heart, not only for the dedication he shows during the drive-through distribution, but because he was one of the very first volunteers I met when I started here this past August. Sieg was quick to make me feel welcomed, and his comedy was appreciated every Thursday morning. Like all of our volunteers, Sieg gifted us the most precious resource we have, time. Every Thursday, Sieg would come to JFS at 7 a.m. before all volunteers and some staff, including me, and bring all the pallets outside to the parking lot, making sure he finished in time to return to his full-time job. Although his time was limited, he gave what he could to JFS, and that is something I know all of us here at JFS truly appreciate. Congratulations, Sieg.
Even under his mask, you can sense Jerry's winning smile. As a longtime kosher home delivered meals driver, Jerry makes time to volunteer for JFS. He has been flexible throughout his time as a volunteer and can be counted upon to delivering to new clients without batting an eye or changing a new route at the last minute. His easygoing personality puts our isolated older adults clients at ease. Behind his relaxed exterior is a man who makes certain to be precise with each client, delivering at a dependable pace. On occasions when clients have felt a little down from living alone, Jerry spends extra time with the clients, asking them about their day. He always passes along concerns to staff with decorum and has stayed passionate about the mission of KHDM, giving a way for older adults to age with dignity in their own home. Jerry still finds time to remain a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. His steady contribution as a volunteer has made the agency stronger. I'm so delighted to present the JFS Hearts and Hands Awards to Jerry Soar. Congratulations, Jerry.
I'm extremely excited to present this Hearts and Hands Award to Tanya Young. I lucked out last semester. Tanya was the most dedicated student as an intern here at JFS. She joined me in the pantry day after day and helped in so many ways. She picked up the heavy boxes, organized freezer space, put up with my lengthy instructions, and basically moved more food around than you all ever has. No task was too big or too small for Tanya. And now, even after her classroom days are over, JFS still benefits from her love of serving. Tanya makes my job easier each time she steps into our doors, and I cannot thank her enough for her generous service. I appreciate that Tanya always shows up eager to work and then cheers on our regular volunteers and our staff to do their best. I'm excited again to present this award to her because she deserves it. We are lucky to have her.
So from the first day that our community partner of the year, the missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, came to volunteer at a drive-through food pantry distribution, they were a very welcome sight. The weather outside was windy and a little bit damp, but the smiles and enthusiasm of these young sisters and elders made it just a little brighter. Because at the time, the volunteer job required a lot of heavy lifting, being outdoors, and early morning 4.5-hour shifts, it was a tough role to fill. A past volunteer put our team in touch with the LDS missionary office for the area, and our team found out that the sisters and elders were seeking a regular volunteer assignment to assist with hunger relief in the community. Seemed like a perfect fit. Each week, the missionaries came to JFS full of enthusiasm and ready to serve the community, making every task more fun. Their energy and compassion were acknowledged and appreciated by staff, fellow volunteers, and clients alike. They made an effort to get to know the other volunteers and regularly went out of their way to make our clients feel loved and valued. Many of the clients in the drive-through food pantry were native Spanish speakers, and several of the sisters and elders spoke fluent Spanish. We're able to assist in communicating with many clients in their native language, making them feel more welcome and easing the process of getting their food. Every few weeks, some of the elders and sisters were relocated and new missionaries came to JFS. It always made for a tough goodbye, but the new additions brought the same light and joy and became a part of the JFS family. Our community partners were able to match us with 47 volunteers for a total of almost 1,000 hours over 40 distribution days in the food pantry, making them the first ever group to receive a President's Volunteer Service Award for the number of hours they contributed. You may remember this award as one that many of our individual volunteers have received, but this is the first group that will ever receive that award. They're passionate and dedicated, and our agency is so fortunate that we were able to engage with them, and our volunteer engagement team wishes all of the missionaries the best of luck with their future endeavors. Please join me in thanking this year's Community Partner of the Year, the missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one more time, I want to take a moment to congratulate all of our award recipients and thank each and every one of the 840 volunteers who contributed to the mission of JFS in 2021. It was with your help that we were able to serve those 39,000 people who needed us. I also want to thank each of my team members who made today possible. First, our event committee, Laura Weinstein and Sandy Donsky, who you'll get to see as our trivia hosts shortly. Second, to Kathy, Julie, Liz, Michelle, Leah and Libby, thank you for helping to present awards and make sure all of our volunteers know how valuable they are. And last but not least, to Jamie and Leah for helping to control the back end of today's presentation. We know that technology is not always our friend, but they are, and they've persevered to make it work for us today. So now I know that we all need some time to enjoy with our sidekicks and a mental break from battling villains. Sorry, I had to just one more time. So we've created a trivia game to play together. So here's how it'll work. We will have 3 rounds, each with 8 questions. The first round will be a superhero theme. The second will be a music round, and each song will have the word hero either in the lyrics or the title. And the last round will be a JFS round, which we expect 100% correct answers on. Our event committee members, Laura and Sandy, will read out all 8 questions. Then we'll send you into breakout rooms. And when we do that, a box will appear on your screen letting you know which breakout room you'll be in and asking if you want to go. So you will have to accept that. But once you're in your breakout rooms, our tech gurus, Leah and Jamie, will send you the link to a form where one person on your team will submit the answers for your team. You'll have 5 minutes to review the questions and answer them. And then we'll bring you back into the main room, read the answers, reveal score updates before moving on to the next round. So during the first breakout, we're going to give you an extra minute because you're going to have to come up with a creative team name. So I'm excited to see what everyone comes up with. And there are prizes for the winning team. So I am going to go ahead and hand it over to Laura and Sandy, our trivia hosts, to get us started.
Yay. Congratulations to all of our volunteers. These are very well-deserved awards for you guys. And it's trivia time. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I'm Laura Weinstein.
And I'm Sandy Donsky.
We both serve on JFS's board of directors and are the event committee for today's event, also known as your trivia hosts. Before we dive in, I want to echo everyone's thanks, praise, and congratulations